In Washington, both houses, Republicans and Senate Democrats, unveiled the responses to the president's request for $3.7 billion to deal with the crisis. Both are offering less money than the president wants. Let me bring in someone who has been very vocal on this issue in Washington, Republican Congressman from Wisconsin, Sean Duffy. Congressman, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, Jose. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Now, you support the speeding up of the deportation process, sending these kids back quicker. How should these kids be treated once they cross the border?
So, first of all, I think it's important that we send money to the border, and we're talking about that in the House, on the House Republican side. Make sure we're taking care of the kids, making sure they're getting the medical needs met, but then also have an assessment done more quickly so we can get the children back home to their families. And I think that's important to note, because if we don't do that, Jose, this is just the start of the crisis. The message will be sent to the families in Central America that the rumors they've heard are true, and they'll get amnesty if they send their children on a very dangerous journey where they're getting raped, abused, murdered. And that's why if we don't quickly process them back home, the flow of kids continues, and it's very dangerous. And as a dad of 7, we can't have a policy in America that encourages this dangerous travel by these children and their parents.
Who should be screening, and how should these kids be screened? Because, you know, here's an issue, and you know this, Congressman. If you're a 10 or a 12-year-old kid that left, let's say, El Salvador, went through Mexico, you know, saw horrific things happening to people that are trying to get to the United States just like they are. And then you're in front of a guy with a hat that looks like a military person, and he's asking you questions. When you come from countries where that person is a threat to many people, you don't have the expressions and the freedom to tell him what has happened to you. Who should be dealing with these kids, and who should be deciding whether these kids should be allowed in or out?
We want to hire more judges to help process and assess the kids. But the story you just told about that horrific journey that child took, if we don't send them back to their families, more kids are going to come and experience that same horrific journey.
Yeah, what about the ones that have family here, though?
Yeah, well, that's part of the assessment. Right. But I think what we really have to get to is a holistic approach to what's happening. Look at what we did in Colombia. We partnered with the Colombian government. We provided aid for economic opportunity. We helped them fight crime, and we've had huge successes. The administration knew this crisis was coming for years, and they've neglected Central America. The money they've sent, much of it has been diverted to solar panels. Let's focus on Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. Let's make sure we partner with them, make sure we help them with economic development, help them fight crime, but make sure they buy in to this new process that can breed a better Central America, that'll be a better trading partner and a better ally for America.
Congressman, this is a kind of a side story issue, but I wanted to bring you in on this and your reaction to it because it happens in Washington. Yesterday, one of your colleagues from Alabama used this language to describe the president on this crisis.
This president has promised them all sorts of free goodies like free food, free clothing, free health care, free transportation, free entertainment. And until that stops, you cannot anticipate that people around the world won't try to break into America, because America is going to be their sugar daddy. And right now, the President of the United States is the world's sugar daddy.
Congressman, do you think any or many of these kids, 12 years of age or under, they're coming to this country for free goodies?
No, listen, I think they're coming for economic opportunity. And I think they're coming because the president, through executive action with regard to the Dreamers, sent a message that these children will get amnesty if they came to the American border. And I just want to note, too, that the House, through Marco Rubio in the Senate, was working on a Dreamers bill to help those kids who are here with no fault of their own. But the president jumped ahead of the Congress and a Republican, Marco Rubio, and did it through executive action. So, yeah, the president has some blame, but I wouldn't call, in this regard, the president a sugar daddy. I would say these kids are coming for economic opportunity. Yeah. But that leaves us the opportunity to help with economic development and help them tamp down their violence, so there isn't this great pull into the American border.
Economic opportunity, but then if you take into consideration Honduras, probably the most violent country in the world, gangs of the Mara Salvatrucha in El Salvador are cutting heads off, and you know, in Guatemala, in the mountains, they come in and the cartels will kill everybody if they're not part of that. I mean, it's not just economic opportunity. And when you have a 12-year-old kid that comes 1,500 miles by himself with the telephone number of his mother sewn in the inside of his jeans, you know, it's just, doesn't it seem to you that this whole conversation of using these terms, sugar daddy and all of this, when you're talking about little kids that saw their mother or their brother be killed by gang members and then do this, it just, I don't know. I mean,
Listen, the terminology is important, and they are coming for economic opportunity.
Yeah.
But Jose, we can't be part of a message that says send more kids on the dangerous journey. I prosecuted child sexual assault cases, sexual rape cases, and to think that we're putting little girls in the hands of coyotes, drug dealers, gang members, to put them at that kind of risk on this journey is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah,
so we have to be compassionate about how we treat the kids when they're here, treat them fairly, but also we can't send a message that more kids should make that journey.
No, and it's amazing to think about the cost-benefit analysis that those parents are taking, Congressman, when they know that these kids may be subjected to that. Imagine the cost-benefit, what they're willing to do to have their children have a different life.
Absolutely, and that's why we have to work on violence and economic development. But one more point, there hasn't been a substantial uptick in violence over the last couple of years that meets the 1,000% increase of children to our border. It hasn't been the uptick in violence. It has been the president's statements that led them to believe that they get amnesty. And so we have to have a holistic approach that deals with the children compassionately on the border, but also helps these countries deal with their crisis in their countries through economic development and tamping down the crime.
Congressman Sean Duffy, thanks for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.